Hey guys, how you going? This is video 5 of my video blog at the moment. This week, over the last couple of days, it's been popping up on me at the moment, the topic of good and evil, and what that all means and what that means to me to understand that. I was talking about that with my friend and I mentioned that there are evil people out there, and she mentioned if she's not sure if this concept of evil exists because it's all circumstantial, it's how things happen, how people are raised, is it an evil act and everything like that. But my position was that because there is good in the world, there has to be evil. And I'm very privileged living in Australia here, and I'm in, middle class Western Australia, and I don't see like evil. I see psychotic people, maybe neuroses or self-involved people, very unattentive to others, just listening to a podcast about the psychopath and the sage by Unslaved. And I believe that in the West we have that, we have a lot of that psychopathic tendency of very indulgent and non-empathy for others and just being induced into self completely and none about others. So just reflection for me of what this all means and what this is, how it's having a resonance with me at the moment. I'm doing a play called Clockwork Orange at the moment. I'm sure many of you might have seen the movie by Stanley Kubrick, but I'm doing the performance and I'm playing the main lead of Alex, who is, the gang, the Droogs all go around terrorizing the streets, raping and, destroying property and cutting people and bashing and fighting and all this sort of stuff. There's only 14 in the play. But it's just funny for me how synchronistically how it resonates about, what that means to be inquiring into the question of good and evil and where does that come from and is it real or what is it or can we recognize evil? And I just had another spout of my like a what do you call it when you have an addiction and then it comes, you do everything to clear it away and then it just comes back, a reoccurrence, or I don't know what it's called, but it happened yesterday again. I did my meditations and in the back of my mind I wanted to smoke a joint, and and very contradicted because I'm at this place right now where I smoke marijuana and it really inhibits me, really inhibits my actions and my brain, and it does put me in a bit of an outside of the box sort of thinking, but which is fun, but I don't have control there, I lack control, I let go of that area of my brain to think of normalcy and I get to step inside of something more interesting, but I lose my cohesion with the world when I'm there these days, and I go tunneling into a rabbit hole of what I think is creativity, but then it takes me into to spiral out of control and reverts me back to my addictions of late night eating, when I know it's not necessary for me, or my sugars, too much sugar intake, and then masturbating, watching porn, knowing that's not good for me, and this whole the reoccurrence that happens, and then just losing out a day in the morning just watching movies because I don't have the energy, I don't want to, I'm not motivated to get up and do things. Luckily my mum came home, I'm back home at the moment with my folks, and luckily my mum came home and snapped me out of my jive, and even if I didn't want to, I left the home and went out and did my deeds of what I was going to accomplish today, and I stepped out and I did do these things. But I can see the psychopath within me, I can see the... Sorry, 2 seconds. I can see the sage within me as well. I can see that enlightened being that's seeking to, attain to himself and be open to other people and help other people out when he's with them in those moments, to be emotionally available to himself and to these other people around him so that he can help to boost and uplift and, help to bring up the spirits of those around him. Yet there is that psychopathic tendency underneath as well that destroys that, that wants to subdue that, and wants to sabotage it, this self-sabotage mentality that propagates within inside of myself, and very contradicting nature of living within that. I'm sure that one day I'll step out of it and I'll live my life, and but it's making those choices, isn't it, as to what you and who you want to be, what kind of life that you want to live, what kind of actions that you want to propagate inside of your day to day, and what that initiates, what one choice will initiate and what the other choice initiates, and why do we make those choices, and what are the reasonings for those choices. Why do I want to be disempowered? What is with that? What is with that mentality inside of me that wants to be disempowered, that wants to disempower me? There is an agent that wants to consume all these things knowingly that it is bad for me, yet it is purely sensual pleasures, like the masturbation, watching pornography, and eating a high dosage of sugar, and smoking marijuana and things like that. It's hard for me because I've been smoking weed for a very long time, and since I was 18, and been doing it for ages, and I was enjoying it back then. I really was, I had no questions about it. But of late, it's really becoming to a point where it's just, my body is rejecting it and rejecting its effects, and I've had some psychoses under psychedelics as well over the last couple of years, and it's really messing with my brain right now. And at the moment, if I smoke a joint, it doesn't really take me to that place where I want to be. It just makes me lazy, and it makes me inactive, and it makes me turn into the person that I don't want to be. And it's admitting that, which is great for this platform here, and I'm, privileged to have this as well. But to be able to accept that, and I couldn't accept that in the meditation yesterday. Whilst I was meditating, I couldn't accept that I didn't need it, and when I was stoned, I didn't step away from that feeling that I didn't need to eat. I have these impulsions. Obviously, people have been smoking weed before, you get munchies and all that sort of stuff, but I'm at this state. I'm 27 now, and whatever that means, I'm 27 now, and I'm coming into 30s once again, whatever that means. But still, I would like to be learning these lessons about health. I'm so conscious about my health. I've been so conscious about so many things for so long, yet this has reverted back into my life, this extremism of overindulgences, of, materialism, and it's back into my life again. And there's no such thing as a bad thing in the sense of it's here to teach you a lesson, but as long as you learn the lesson, it's fine. If you do not learn the lesson, then we're not really going anywhere, are we? So there's that moral dilemma within myself that I have continuously been experiencing, and battling this inside of me, and speaking to my friends about how, as I said, I'm living in middle class Australia at the moment, not Western Australia, Western suburbs, but in Australia, in Brisbane. And I was in Melbourne prior to that as well. Melbourne's got more things happening, but here it's just so mediocre. Everything is so mediocre that, and there's a lot of nature around me. I'm staring at trees all the time, and it seems so peaceful, and made me contemplate why I fight the fight that I do. And in the end, not to question it too much, because it is for, the self that I promote inside of, I promote the well-being because my self extends further than who I am, because my self encumbers to the space that I occupy, and the things and the people that come into my life, experiences, places, and I'm here to energize that, I'm here to, I have the capacity and I have the understanding of how it operates to energize. And so I feel with this gift, it feels like a responsibility at times, because I do admit that it's not it's a gift, but it does also feel like a burden what I don't want to be, or if I'm wanting to be bad, is, why do I have to be good? What is this deal with having to be good? Why can't I be bad? I get jealous of the ignorant at times because they don't give a shit, they don't give a shit about what their causality, and they don't give a shit about how their actions affect others, or the psychopath who doesn't care. And that's what they were talking about in the podcast as well, is that people look up to the psychopath, or people are admirant of the psychopath because he or she does not give a shit about anything. It's very free, seems very light, and a very admirable lifestyle, because it seems like they live life weight free, no sweat on their shoulders. Yet, there's that intrinsic pain that maybe they don't even understand, maybe they don't even acknowledge this pain, that they are instinctively going towards the aversion of pain, and not confronting it, and not stepping into their own truth and their real selves, because they are happy to hide it. They're happy to hide away in that veil of fallacy and a facade that they create to show people and show society. Because you can be a liar, that's the truth. You can be a liar to the world. You can lie your way wholeheartedly if you wanted to, all the way to your grave. If you want to lie to your grave, it's possible. But I see that possibility is not really something that is sustainable in terms of true growth. You're not growing, you're staying stagnant, you're staying in a place of fear, and you're staying in a place where you are not empowering others around you, nor yourself. So I can't do that, no matter what, in regards to having that falsity, and the facade that I do carry at times when I am in pain and I don't want to smile. But I smile because, not because I have to, because innately I do want to have good interactions with people, and I want to really bring it from a real place as well. So I'll put all my shit aside when I'm out there with other people. But that makes it very difficult for me, because I'm putting it aside, but the reason, not reasoning, but what happens when you put it aside is that it must be dealt with later. So it's something that I have to come and revisit again. And if I'm keeping myself in check on a day-to-day level, and it's the small things that I do right for myself, and diet is ever so important to me, it's seeming, food, and, the food choices that we make, and what we eat, how we eat, when we eat, and all that sort of stuff. This is the challenge that I'm facing at the moment. And my evil tendencies, if you want to say, my evil tendencies to hurt me, to hurt myself. And it's such a mystery to me as to what this is, as to what that mystery is, as to what that inclination has been promulgated from, what it has been derived from. And it makes me inquire into the nature of evil, and into the nature of, what is that? What is that notion that stops the goodness, or hates the goodness? It's every time that I'm on such a roll. Like yesterday, I woke up in the morning, I did my meditation, I did my exercise, very simple but very nice. I did some cooking for myself. I cooked for my younger brother. I helped him out with there was a list for him to do the the bathroom cleaning. There's a big list of bathroom and toilet cleaning, everything like that, and I felt that was unfair for just him to, I'm living here as well, so I should have responsibility to, and I can understand, because I do go up and get out and do things. I take the initiative in this home, so sometimes maybe my parents give me leeway, but I don't want them to give me leeway. I want them to treat me the same as my younger brother. My younger brother is 19 at the moment, so he, he's 19. He's just living his own life. Ignorant, and not completely ignorant, but just unaware, mate. I was 18, 19 as well, ignorant, unaware, causing havoc and mayhem. He's causing much less havoc than I was when I was 18, 19. But I helped him out yesterday, and then, I kept cleaning, and I cleaned my room, and I organized my space so I can have a musical space, and I went out skating, and I, did my meditation at night time, and everything was so good. And then at the very end of it all, and it's always at the end of the day, instead of putting myself to sleeping, finishing it, I cause mayhem. I strike the chord of mayhem and destruction inside of my temple. I destroy the libraries. I destroy the framework that I, take time to toil away and, tinker at these pillars that have taken, it feels like eons at times to build. And yet I break them. I break these things. And I'm quite aware that I'm breaking these things whilst I'm breaking them, I have this cheeky smile on my face that says, yes, I am the rebel, I am the rebel without a cause, and I am I am this entity that can do whatever he pleases. And I allow that freedom. But that's a misconception about freedom. That is freedom. It's not, because in the end it constricts my actions, it constricts my emotions, it blocks me out, it, makes me numb, it brings me into a hole, it gaps me. It really segregates me from myself, because I have to be a polarizing intersection instead of being just a unified self. It really is debilitating. And, I wonder why these actions continue and why I'm constantly debilitated as well. Why this happens. But almost you don't need to understand why it happens. You just need to cease being the debilitating agent, You just cease being what is negative and what is destructive. And then I'm sure, still young, but I'm sure from that, panya, wisdom will come through the actions. You can never know the answer to the quiz, whilst you can never know your way out of the maze unless you're out of the maze. You could contemplate as much as you like, standing in the middle of it all and wondering where the exit could be or where the answer lies. But you'll never know unless you actually take the steps to move through the maze. Yes, make mistakes, but hopefully one day to get out of that maze. And then you can teach people how to get out of the maze as well, but only once you have stepped out of it. And that's what I would like to cultivate in these, and these qualities are there, these qualities are present. To be there with that. Knowing. Moral courage. I've got a quote here on my wall. Few men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of their colleagues, the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. Yet it is the one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change a world which yields most painfully to change. That was Robert F. Kennedy, 1966, in his speech. And I really do feel like it is a cultivation of the courage, like allowing courage to step through, allowing yourself to make the right choices and to step outside of your pain, that you don't need to live in pain, It's okay to not live in pain, because there's going to be more pain, man. If you want pain, then there's pain everywhere. I seem to put myself in challenging situations to test myself, to see if I can handle it. To see if I can handle what is that. maybe I don't have guidelines as to what it is that I can and can't do whilst in those areas, but I'm a very emotional person in my own nature. I'm very sensitive, Cancerian. Don't know what that means. I'm sure that means something, but I'm very sensitive. I'm sensitive to the energies nonetheless, So by taking certain drugs or substances, then they can heighten the sensitivity and the alertness to certain energies, but it can become overwhelming and overbearing, and makes it exciting at times as well, like a child. You can feel like a child, but you make no sense, and you can't walk, you can't read, you can't breathe, and that's when it becomes debilitating. And that's just bringing it all back to the self. And I guess I just wanted to speak about if anyone could ever relate to this, if anyone ever had those moments where we're so debilitating our own nature. And, I've got all the ideas, and I've got, the steps to make the change is to really hear that voice within you, to not eat that cookie, or not smoke that cigarette, or cut back that last beer, or go to bed a little bit earlier so you have a nice rest for the evening. It's making a sacrifice. It's making a sacrifice from that total, freedom. But making the sacrifice actually helps to empower your freedom, because we are finite beings within an infinite structure. And it's a contradiction, because we can understand the infinite structure, and it's really difficult to embody this human existence. And it's a challenge to embody the human existence. And I find it challenging, but these are my challenges, and we all have our own challenges. But for anyone that's out there that may think that they are going through these problems as well, or things that are hard to discuss and issues, I just wanted to put out there that you are not alone. That you're not alone. And that, you're in my prayers as well. I don't know you. You don't know me, but you're in my prayers. You're part of it all, we are all part of the whole creation. And so I put my prayers in for it all, for us inclusive of me, inclusive of you. It's not just you, and it's not just me, it's us, it's we. That makes a difference, it really does make a difference to say that it's we. But the innate nature of evil, the roots of it, could go so deep, As I said, my friend and her understandings of causality, and I understand causality as well, cause and effect, and how circumstantial, societal programming and conditionings create who we are as an individual, and how we react to these. And I was speaking about free will as well, the choice to choose evil, the choice to choose good. It's a line in the play that I'm doing, is that when man ceases to choose, he ceases to be a man. And the chaplain, he speaks funny, because the chaplain's a drunk, a drunk and a careerist, and he's meant to be the person offering the, wisest of wisdoms in the film, or in the theater, in the play. And it's just that ironic contradiction of what society is right now, that even this person that is offering the most humble opinion is the drunk, and he doesn't know how to handle his own life. So that's interesting in its own nature. But he said that when a man chooses evil, is he, I can't remember if he said if he's better, or is he more good than the man who has the good imposed upon him? Not that he's more good, but is he more free? What is freedom? This choice. This choice to choose either or, and we are divided, and we are, burdened with that choice, I guess. Responsibility to make, to decipher the truth. To decipher the truth, and to contradict no more in who we are. And I guess, who are we? What are we? Introspection, introspection, looking into history and looking into the world is a sense of introspection, but introspecting to yourself truly, that there is an inside world, that there is a world inside of us, inside of this material being, that, we're all this, where this source of consciousness, knowing, or greatness comes from, that there is that world within. And what is that? And are we in harmony with it? If it is the source of all creation, then are we in contradictory nature to it by being evil, but not by evil just to others, but to ourselves? Because as I said, maybe I don't see a lot of evil people out there. I see a lot of people being evil to themselves, just like me, man, where it's contradictory actions that do not help to propagate sustainable people or futures, that these actions are very harmful. Just like disempowering speech, speech that it's very common here in Australia, where we're very sarcastic and we are happy to, stupefy, pretend that we are stupid and that we are idiots, and that, I can't do that because I'm just an idiot, like self-sabotage right there. Or, maybe we can't deal with our issues, so we drink, or we smoke, or we take drugs, And I'm still in the feeling that there are a place for drugs in this world, that, MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, DMT, ayahuasca, marijuana, all these things have a place in our world, yet it needs to be, it's that whole thing of freedom, of, complete and utter freedom, and ultimate freedom. Yet freedom, as Jason Silva was speaking about, do we desire freedom within limitations? Because we are the infinite within, we are the finite within infinite. So do we seek for finite freedom within infinite freedom, knowing that there is infinite freedom, but knowing our own limitations and capacities, that we can operate within that, and giving ourselves constrictions, to be openly free with our minds. I'm not saying constrict the mind to where it can go, but to put that into action and to put that into practice, it takes time, and it takes time if we're, we are mostly working off the Gregorian calendar as well at the moment, Monday to Friday. Some people work Saturday, Sundays is understood as a weekend, and, Monday starts again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and we are in this cycle of time. Time keeps going in this cyclical loop. The year goes through again. The year starts again. We go around the sun, and this constant rotation keeps on happening. So as I guess I lost my train of thought there, but, about evil and where it comes from, and our orientation with it, and our goodness, and how much we, sabotage ourselves, and how much we debilitate ourselves, and how much, what can we do to empower ourselves? What can be done to empower ourselves? And why do we cut ourselves down when we're at such a height, and maybe we bring other people down when we're at such a height? I can see that in my own nature, when I'm not in the best days of myself, I'm feeling upset, if I'm feeling down, there is an inclination there to bring people down with me. And it would feel good. I can see that it would feel good for a moment, for a moment that it would feel good. But that's not the right thing to do, so I choose not to do it. I choose to push through my pain and put all my shit aside and to be in the right place for these people, because it's not their fault that I'm in a situation of badness, I'm in a situation of badness because of my own actions, and if I'm intelligent enough to know how to operate outside of convulsions and compulsions, then it's my responsibility to take heed of my own health, mental and physical. And if I don't do that, who's there to blame? No one else. And it's not blame, it's no one's here to look after me, man. I'm not a child. No one is here to spoon feed me health and goodness, and no one's here to put a book in front of my face and educate me. I'm not at university. I'm just being a student of life. I try and put myself in situations where it will help to educate me, like going to the theater and, learning the lines and understanding to the best I can about psychology and human capacity and empathizing with characters and people and having connections with people as well, exercising these things. So it helps who I am. So I'm on this constant battle every day towards that beingness, more so always at attempting to the being and failing many and many a times, many and many a times, the contradictions of failure and, stepping out of that line and, into places of disempowerment, but always remembering where empowerment lies inside of the self and inquiring within that self, to know who we are, really, and I can see that in nature, in the nature of us, of who we are and what we are built from. The universe is in so immaculate of an order that it seems too far-fetched for it to be an evil universe. Do you know what I mean? That it's a random causality of nothingness, yet it is all spontaneous. It seems to be in order. It seems to be empowered to create. It seems to be, in a position to create such beautiful, beautiful life. It creates life everywhere. Even if we don't want it to create life, it does. Weeds, look at weeds. And, you don't like the weeds, but look at the leaf of the weed. It's a very pretty green, And it's creating life constantly. The soil, the wind, the air, the rain, the plants, the trees, the birds, the animals, the poop to fertilize, the fungi, the roots. It's all creating life all the time. And such fascinating life when you look deeper into it as well. Such fascinating and such well-structured and well-organized life, do you know what I mean? So if to know these principles, that where the nature of the universe comes from, who knows exactly where it comes from? If it is in all sectors, how do we know it's coming from the single source? But we are all part of that same source, different seed. Like the seed of kale is different to the seed of the oak tree. It's a different seed. It's a different composite. Like my seed, I'm sure my father's semen going into my mother's ovaries was a different semen of my friend's father to my friend's mother, her ovaries. Different seed, different egg, But the seed still swims, semen still swims and it still does the same thing where it has to, become one with the egg, has to fertilize the egg. In that principle, it's the same. It has to be fertilized. Same with every chicken, same with every dog, same with every animal, like that principle is not different. So to come back to the point of the principle of God, well, I wasn't talking about God, but when I'm talking about totality and when all these things come from, is my understanding of what may be the concept of God, of all things all in one that I come from. This is the thought that I was having yesterday about what is God, like what is God and what is science? Or maybe what is religion, what is science? Religion is maybe the understanding of God, so what is God? If God is all things, okay, so science, and what is science? Science is understanding reality, trying to have a, trial and error and testing hypotheses and having an objective view about what is our reality. And so that's going to go, there's going to be a side topic that I'm not going to drift into right now. But I'll just try and get back to if we are in a contradictory nature to ourselves. If I am not being the sage, said sage, am I being the psychopath? Am I being an agent of chaos more than I am an agent of purity? And an agent of purity will finally be an agent of chaos, because the purity will instigate chaos in the unpure. It will muck and mold the settings of these people because it's going to shoot an arrow across all fences and all walls, and it's going to hit the target of the source. Purity is looking for purity, which means we have to break the crumbling concrete render of impurity and dampness and stagnation, which means that that's going to cause chaos. It's going to cause chaos for that to come crumbling down. But for that to come crumbling down, there's a reason why this has to come crumbling down, for the purity to arise once again, for it to come present, for it to be in the forefront, to be shown to you, to be you. And in the end, to be you, for you to be it and to become one with it once again. And I feel that's the whole process of life, is to become one with life. And guess what? You become one with life for a moment, and then you step out of it because it's changing. Every single moment is changing. Your oneness with one moment, but that oneness is not oneness of another moment, because the next moment may be completely different that you did not expect it to be so. So you must move with it, You must shift with its dynamic, with the way that it has its peaks and troughs and its tides. And how well can you move and be fluid with its actions and let go of rigidity? When I'm trying to hold on to these concepts that I'm addicted to, then that's when true chaos occurs. Chaos when I'm in the goodness, and it brings in chaos. And those are the strings that I hold on to. You know what I mean? Those are the strings that I hold on to for some sort of reason, for some sort of emotional reason. I can't let that go because it helps me to suppress a feeling. In the end, it doesn't help me to feel a feeling. It helps me to suppress a feeling, because what is arising is truth. And it may be uncomfortable. Truth may be uncomfortable. But to understand it, you have to let it arise. You have to let it arise, and it will pass away. Something will happen, But if you try to block that happening with food, once again, food, alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, whatever, if you try and suppress it in however many ways that you do, denial, then you are not going to be in touch with truth. You will not be allowing truth to come through, because you are constantly in oppression of it, which means, and if we are all of it, if we are in all of creation, and we are in totality, and we are totality, part of its nature, not all of it, but we are part of its nature by suppressing its nature of truth, which is something which arises outside of your control, something that is coming up, that is change, that you didn't want it to come. You didn't bring this to come. And who knows, subconsciously we could think that you do want this, you did want this. If you are a person going towards change, but even if you're not a person going towards change consciously, change is happening. And it's constantly trying to arise within us. It's constantly trying to be within our own psyche. It's always, it will never stop to do its best for you to understand integration with it, because it seems like that's the whole point of where it was trying to lead to, for you to break down your walls, for you to remove your render and these thick layers of paint that you have lacquered on for years and years and years, to hide the shades of the true roots that you have, who you are. It's like girls that wear so much makeup, but sometimes, you can see under their skin is that you've got bad skin, And who knows, it could be medical conditions, or it could just be poor diet as well, You could cover it up for as long as you like, ladies, but, you have to face the truth. And if you are not facing the truth, and a girl that doesn't wear makeup and is confident with her pimples and her freckles and all this sort of stuff is much more attractive than a girl that covers it all and believes in the masks, and believes that she, or even he these days, not even these days, for a long time, men have also worn makeup. But people that hide behind those masks, and I'm guilty of hiding behind those masks, of not being completely open with my vulnerability with other people, because once you share that vulnerability, like a mistake that I have made, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that I keep making these mistakes, and I don't want to talk about it. But if you did talk about it, you have to face your embarrassment and your guilt and your shame. Your shame is not there for badness, your shame is there to show you something, it's there to teach you. Shame is there to teach you something. Maybe it is something to be shameful for. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with shame. If you feel shame, do something about it so you don't feel shamed. It's a solution-orientated mindset that's going to save us, it's going to save you, that's going to save me, it's be solution-orientated to how we can make the shift in this world, And our world is the world we occupy each and every moment around us, inside of us, We all occupy a certain level of space, and there are shamans in certain areas and warriors, but warriors are coming everywhere, The enlightened warriors are infiltrating this world of negativity and changing it from the inside out, because that's the only way it can be done. And it's up to each and every one of us to make that step and make that change. So I'm going to do my best, and I hope for the best of others as well. And I really do pray for the best of others and the true enlightenment of humanity, to be able to face our darkness and go through our darkness and really be able to understand this capacity that we do have for evil, It's more than prevalent that we have a capacity to be evil, Like, are we evil in nature, innately? That I do not know, I don't believe so. But we can be conditioned to be evil. We can be trained to be evil. So just to be mindful of that we do have the capacity to be so. And that's where that fine line of choice lies, that some people don't believe that we have choice. Some people believe that it's just pure causality, but I believe that that's people living in the duality. They haven't seen the unity yet. They haven't stepped outside of the self box of their ego and seen the light of truth. The light of truth will show you the Holy Trinity, the third element, the triangle, the tetrahedron, it will show you that you can't have a line. Lines don't construct the three-dimensional world that we live in. Shapes create the three-dimensional world that we live in, and the most fundamental shape that we have is a triangle. And the triangle is the three, the Trinity, the triad. Such a past, present, and future, such a fundamental basis that once you can see the third element, you understand the two upward sub-branches of it. But once you can see that, if you can see that we have the capacity to have both, and then once you can see that we do have the capacity of both, we make the choice. We make the choice and we live by that choice. And it's a difficult choice, it's that. But the choice becomes easier the more you make it, the more you make the right choice, the more you make the choice that you have figured out is the sustainable choice, is the heartfelt, heart-centered choice, the choice that is leading to your enlightenment, that is leading to your future, brightest future that you could possibly imagine for yourself and for the people around you. And once again, that takes into the self of, where the capacities of the self lie. Myself is not myself. Myself is a self with other people involved. The whole community involved is myself. So for me to be seeing the bright future is a bright future for humanity. So understanding these concepts helps me to digress and go through my issues. But nonetheless, I'm saying that I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I am guilty of making mistakes. Stupidity. I'm guilty of stupidity, of foolishness, of psychopathic tendencies. I can see the psychopath because I have the capacity to be the psychopath, And, if I kept on making choices that were poor choices for myself, sooner or later I would be the psychopath. You know what I mean? I could see myself being so locked away in my own pain and, living behind a fallacy of who I am. And that's and not being genuine. That would be my hell. And I live in my own hell sometimes. And it's not that I always want to be in heaven. The concept of heaven is good. But we are here together as well, I'd like to try and move to paradise with entirety. Not everyone's going to make it. You know, it's true. A lot of people commit suicide every single day. Life is intense. Life is hardcore. Everything, all things are coming to life and deteriorating. You know, the moment something comes to life, something is deteriorating. Body, materials, anything like that. But I just want to get this off my chest. I just want to speak about and talk about it a little bit. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Boom, boom.